Senate last week. They went ahead and passed it out of committee. Big trouble, ladies and gentlemen. Looks like it may pass now. Congress approval rating plunges to an all-time low. That treason is coming up. When I start the next hour, I'm going to cover the main body of global news. Then we're going to continue to focus on the war on the First Amendment. Rob Dew is going to come in the last 30 minutes or so with universities all over the country banning libertarians, conservatives, Christians, and pro-veterans groups and pro-police groups from being able to have demonstrations when they're even activists on campus or being able to hold up signs. And again, whether you're for the police or not, or for pro-lifers or not, or whatever, they have cops shutting people's free speech down under orders. It is anti-American. It is the end of this country if it continues. And speaking of that, I didn't know who we were dealing with yesterday if you just joined us. Again, Alex Jones here, back live. A lot of you watched it on the live free streams at Infowars.com/show, or you listened on the radio. But we're about an hour into the show. I'm covering other news, popping in with Jakari. I see these bottom-feeding, cave-dwelling, glow-in-the-dark, crawl out from the under a rock scum show up. I see him start pushing on people, blocking signs, and I say, that's it, I'm going down there. So I drive down on the live feed, get there, and pretty soon I realize, oh, I've seen this before. They start saying, I love the fact I killed my children, I love Satan, you know, basically all whites are bad, period. Don't try to help black people, that's racist. Just true scum of the earth, devilish stuff. Weird guys that look like vampires, like zombies attacking people. I mean, right out of all those images, the guy looks like a serial killer. I'm not saying he's a serial killer. He just looks like the Hillside Strangler or something. He has that same crazy look in his eye, that same empty, shark-eyed look. And they're not trying to act like that. They are given over to it. Just soulless zombo stares. And then talking about, I kill all my kids, and licking their lips. And they're not saying that to sound crazy. This is really what they're into. It is a sacrament. And I've run into a lot of women over the years that go, you bet I had an abortion, and I like it. The devil loves it, oh yeah. And I mean, you'll have women that are clean-cut and nice. At the Texas Capitol 2 years ago, saw pro-lifers praying, and just suddenly women who didn't even know each other just circled hands and went, Satan, oh, Satan, hail Satan. I mean, we've played the video. It was national news. You will see, I mean, where does this come from? Women who aren't even into the whole gothic pib vampire movement suddenly going, Satan, 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 Satan. It's like something out of The Exorcist. Your mother's in hell. And when you see these people, you realize, oh my gosh, whether it's an archetype, group consciousness, demons, you know, space aliens, whatever you call it, something is influencing these people. These are demons. They weren't always like this. They are just crawling on the ground like Gormer Wormtongue or something from Lord of the Rings or Gollum. Just, you will never. And it's just, you just want to grab them by the throat. I mean, these are maggots. And then you go to their websites, and it's just kill the police, and they have demonstrations with rotting pig heads, and we're going to get you, and it's time for war, and they're so weak. And then the cops didn't arrest them, treated them lovingly, patted them, and oh, we're so sweet to them, and then did nothing. When they were running around assaulting and hitting people and breaking microphones and doing all this in front of everyone, because the city of Austin supports this. The city of Austin loves it. George Soros funds these groups. In fact, we're looking into it through UT. We're doing research. We've already connected them to a group that is Soros funded and their top advisor, which again is one of these Islamo-fascist socialists. I mean, you just cannot make this stuff up. You cannot, I mean, just being deployed by UT, they have these Mao meetings at UT where they sit up and pretend that they're the new Politburo and are deciding who's going to be re-educated. I mean, it's sick. And this is standard. This is standard in America. They're in the national news saying Alex Jones wants to kill police. Alex Jones is a terrorist. Alex Jones wants violence. No proof. Meanwhile, there are bottom-feeding exorcist candidates writhing around, hissing like snakes. Just, we love Mao, kill the police. Ah. This is our country falling. This is our country in judgment. This is our country overrun by filth at every level. It is just, and then they lecture us about, you're racist, like it has power, like they're on some high horse. And then some of the people are like, no, I just want to adopt black babies, and, I adopted minority babies. Yeah, we'll see what happens. I kill my babies. And that piece was made 2 years ago. Which one of our great info warriors put that piece together? I forget. Was it Jakari Jackson? Was it Darren McBreen?
I think it was Darren.
Darren McBreen, yeah. Amazing work, amazing broadcaster. That was made 2 years ago, almost 2 years ago. And you notice David Knight was talking about they'll turn on their police, they'll turn on their military, they'll turn on the Quislings that help the system do this. That's what always happens. And notice now George Soros is funding that. We're not endorsing the excesses of the police and how they've been mutated in many areas and how they're being federalized. We told you the plan was attack the police, blame them for the imploding economy, blame them for the globalism, blame them for every problem, and not the globalists who are training them and executing this takeover and who are sucking the country and the planet dry of resources and money and freedom, who are dominating the globe. And when they start going into that phase of revolution, like they did in Ukraine to overthrow Ukraine a year and a half ago now, when they start funding an Arab Spring, not to bring freedom to the Middle East, but to enslave, you know that you're in trouble. And now there are major moves to basically start World War III in Ukraine. And George Soros has come out and said he's worried about World War III. That's like an arsonist calling the fire department after he sets fire to a building. Headline, conspiracy theorists are causing militants to abandon ISIS. Steve Watson writes about the announcements made by NATO and others. The ISIS-Ramadi victory and the breakup of Iraq. We're going to break that down. Shock video, militant communist attack pro-life protesters. We're going to hit that in a moment. But do you know that it came out in the London Independent that Assad, the leader of Syria, directed his ministry to republish Infowars.com articles? And you know why? Because they're true. We exposed the nerve gas was launched by Saudi Arabian operatives, and it came out a year later at the UN. We exposed the fact that it was a proxy war against Russia with our guests like Colonel Schaefer and others the day it all started 5 years ago. We predicted they would then break up the country and create a new Islamic state connected to Saudi Arabia and a caliphate, because that's their stated plan, and the West is directing it. And we said that they're recruiting useful idiots out of the radicalized Muslim communities that are being allowed to operate and recruit, and that most of their ground fighters are useful idiot morons to their controllers who are commanded by MI6, by CIA, by Turkish intelligence, by some units of Israeli intelligence, and some factions of Pakistani intelligence to destabilize the region, and quarterbacked by Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and others. And it's that decompartmentalization is the real power of this broadcast, because if you read the article, they're now admitting that the conspiracy theorists out there saying that ISIS is globalist run to break up the Middle East and cause a Muslim civil war to destabilize the area and bring it back to the Stone Age, and that it's anti-Muslim to do that, it's anti the people that live in that area, and that it's a culture war bomb. And now ISIS' biggest problem is getting their funding cut off, because we're trying to keep Congress from funding this Free Syrian Army that is ISIS and Al-Qaeda. And we are exposing to their grunts that they're really working for the New World Order. That's why ISIS for 2 years, back when they were even called Al-Qaeda, were threatening us and saying they were going to attack us. Now the official ISIS puts us in their videos and says we're coming for you and all the rest of it, because they're angry. I'm here to take on the communists, to take on ISIS, to take on the New World Order. I'm here And listen, I'm here to show you what the people can do. We're fighting a bunch of vipers and trash, and they can't trump the ace of spades, and that's the truth. We've got the truth. That's why at the highest levels of NATO, the highest levels of the Japanese government, the highest level of major governments around the world, the Russian government, you name it, you know what they listen to? They listen to this radio show because other people don't have the will to just tell it like it is. Folks in government listen to this show because they're somewhat decompartmentalized. And they go, yeah, this guy knows what he's talking about. His guests know what they talk about. No one else will talk about the real paradigm, but more and more people are. And once the new paradigm of reality is there and people see from a globalist perspective how they're manipulating things, see, we're in the seat of the globalist, but we don't want to carry out their operations. We've gotten in their position from their point of view to understand their operations. We get other people to get in the enemy's position. That's how a good general wins a war. He gets in the mind of the other generals he's fighting. He learns everything he can about how they operate. How do you catch a serial killer if you're a good detective? You get in their mind, you study them, you immerse yourself in the clues and what that's connected to. And that's what we've done with the globalist. And thank God we've now escaped gravity. And by that, they could kill me, shut me down now. We've gotten out of gravity. The rocket was successful. I can now declare real success. I've known this for about a year, but now I can really say it. And the enemy now recognizes this. So when foreign media is here or national media, they pretty much quake and say, you know, you don't deserve this much power. You're dangerous. Everyone's listening to you. No one's listening to us. They're only listening to me because I'm a messenger telling the truth. I am nobody. Do you understand that? But I can declare to the whole world right now that we have gotten out of the enemy's grasp because now the paradigm is understood by hundreds of other talk show hosts and millions of people and writers and bloggers and seeing things from the globalist perspective, from their command center, as we have basically been able to reverse engineer. Once that genie's out of the bottle, once that secret is released, the enemy cannot shut us down. Nothing they can do can stop us at the point we've now reached. And it's important for the enemy of humanity, the enemy of progress. It is important for the accuser. It is important for the globalist to understand that you will not succeed. And I know in your literature you say you'll just blow the planet up rather than not take over and succeed. We'll see if you're able to do that, because your own people right below you in many cases now realize what's happening. They understand where this is going, and they're only looking for more support to bring you down. And you know that. You're scared. You should be. You're trying to accelerate your program. All that's going to do is wake people up faster. What's going to happen as everything we've talked about comes true? Already so much of it has that people now understand we know what we're talking about. What are you going to do, New World Order? I'm like a cop with a bullhorn to a bunch of bank robbers that have got hostages inside a building. And I'm out here on the bullhorn going, we know who you are. You may hurt those people inside, but you're not going to get out of here in the end. We know exactly how you operate. And then I just sit here and talk to them about what they like, what they do, that I understand their mindset, that I know what... We can beat these people if we get aggressive, and if we get the truth out, and if we warn people, and if we're leaders. We can turn the tide. But for this show and InfoWars, I can declare in 2015, on the 22nd day of May, that this operation has hit the enemy directly between the eyes. We've hit Goliath directly between the eyes, but he's only stunned. He's only been knocked to the ground. Politically, we've got about 1 minute to get over there with that sword while his supporters are stunned, and heft that sword up, not violently, but in the info war, and sever the globalist head. But even if we don't do that, everyone has seen what the underdog can do. The paradigm is shifting. You can feel it. And I talk about the anxiety I have and the concerns I have, and that's because I can feel the enemy moving in a counteroffensive, lashing out, expanding, driving all of their programs in a hysterical frenzy against humanity. Now, that said, Yesterday, we are out protesting.